So if you go online, you'll sometimes find some brackets between Mark 16 verse 8 and Mark 16 verse 9, where it says that, for example, some manuscripts do not have this longer ending. And it's even said nowadays that the longer ending of Mark 16, 9 to 20, it's actually an inauthentic interpolation into the 16th chapter of Mark's Gospel. So it's basically a corruption, it's an interpolation and insertion into the text of Mark 16 after verse 8. But I'll prove to you that it's actually not the case. And for example, it is true though that the longer ending of Mark that we have today, it's not found in Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Vaticanus. However, Codex Vaticanus, for example, is worthy looking at because in there's actually on the last page in that manuscript, on the last page in Mark 16, there's actually this long column, which is entirely empty, and this empty blank column, it starts after verse 8 in Mark 16. So this could have indicated that this longer ending was known at the time Codex Vaticanus was being produced. However, the one who made the manuscript, he might not have included it because there might have been some dispute about it in antiquity. And however, in Codex Alexandrinus, which is from the 5th century, I think, from the 400s, it actually does have the entire long ending. Mark 16, 9 to 20, it has the entire long ending. And we also have church fathers who quote some parts of Mark's longer ending. For example, we have Irenaeus. He quotes Mark 16:19, and the Lord was received up to heaven. And we also have Justin Martyr, who quotes Mark 16:20. And there was even also an attempt to harmonize the four gospel accounts into one big gospel called the Diatessaron, which was made by a dude called Tatian, and he has the entire ending of Mark from verse 9 to verse 20. So this, I think that these examples, for example, the church fathers quoting it, and it's found in some manuscripts and so on, it talks in favor of their authenticity. It doesn't seem at all that Mark 16, 9 to 20 is an interpolation. But then some might say, well, it has a different style than to the rest of Mark's gospel. But, well, I don't know how to respond to that, but maybe, I mean, we humans we also do that. For example, we don't use words that much, but there are some words which we rarely use that we actually use sometimes. So it could be that Marky changed his style toward the end of the gospel. I mean, why not? Or for example, the way you write on a computer is quite different from how you actually talk in real life. There's a different style, right? So I mean, the argument from style is actually quite stupid. But from this, I think it can be assuredly said that Mark 16, 9 to 20 is not an interpolation. It was a part of Mark's original gospel. Because because if something can be interpolated into holy and sacred scripture, then what else haven't been interpolated and corrupted? And also, by the way, how would such a long passage have been interpolated into Mark's gospel? After centuries of manuscript copying, centuries after centuries, so many scribes, such a manuscript tradition, and then someone comes along and decides to add 11 verses or 12 verses into Mark's gospel toward chapter 16, and then everyone just went along with it. There was no condemnation, there was no anathema, there was no he's a heretic or something like that, or did all just believe this interpolation, and did all just go with this manuscript and begin to produce manuscripts with the longer ending, where before was with the shorter ending? It just doesn't make sense to interpolate such a huge passage, and everyone just went on with the manuscript tradition, having the longer ending rather than the original shorter ending. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that such a passage would have been interpolated, such a huge one, and everyone just went with it. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, church fathers, some manuscripts actually do have it. It speaks in favor of its authenticity.